Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Well, I'm sure you all know the crescent-shaped French pastry called croissant, but did you know that most British people avoid eating it because they simply don't know how to pronounce it? In a recent survey, it showed that almost half of British people are very uncomfortable with them simply because they don't know what to ask for. In English, it's spelled like croissants. The pronunciation is the French one, croissant. But British people feel a little bit kind of uncomfortable saying the word in a second language in case they get it wrong. Not only that, British people are also very uncomfortable eating them because they don't really know what to do with them. Do you take a bit and dip it in your coffee? Do you raise the whole thing up to your mouth? Or do you take off a small piece and just eat it? The dipping in the coffee thing would certainly not be British, and so there's a lot of hesitation. And whatever way you eat it, it's always very messy. So there's always a question over what to do with croissants. And not only croissants, it seems that there's other things from other languages that British people avoid because they don't know how to say them. I was in a cafe the other day, and the lady in front of me, she asked for a focaccia. And the person serving just stared at her and said, a what? And she repeated, a focaccia? And the person said, can you describe for me what it is, or can you point at it so I know? I think he thought she was foreign, or maybe he was sparing her the embarrassment of telling her she was saying it wrong. But eventually he said, you mean focaccia? And she looked a little bit embarrassed, and she said, yes, if I could have one of those, please. And it's not just these. I mean, one food which I know British people really can't say is quinoa. Quinoa, I'm still not sure what that actually is, but I was out with some friends some months ago, and the conversation of quinoa came up, and someone said, do you like quinoa? And the other person said, well, I've heard some of her CDs. She's very, very good. And I'm thinking, what? I heard some of her CDs. Who exactly is it that you're talking about? And of course, it was Kiri Te Kanawa, the New Zealand opera singer. That's perhaps a more humorous demonstration of how we can't say some foods. But you might be surprised that simple things like pain au chocolat is one that we apparently can't say. And we really get very shy when we can't say the names of foods. Apparently, soufflé is another one that British people struggle with. They often refer to it as souffle. And jalapeno, which British people often refer to as jalapeno. There's all kinds of ones. There's other ones here that I don't know how to say, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to say them. But it's very interesting. I think brioche is another one. Many British people often just say brioche. Brioche. I wouldn't embarrass myself. I would just point at the picture or say that thing there on the menu. It's so much easier. It's so much easier. Having said that, there's also some restaurants here who don't say the words correctly either. So that's quite amusing because when they work there and they get it wrong, it somehow redeems the fact that I didn't know it either. I did have an embarrassing moment when I went to the doctor's surgery about diabetes, and they were telling me what I can and can't eat. And during that conversation, I said, I love to eat tofu. And they said, yeah, cheese is fine. And I said, yeah, but tofu isn't a cheese. And they said, really? What is it? I said, it's kind of a plant-based protein. And they said, really? Never heard of it. And I thought, yes, yes. Well, anyway, they had to search on the internet and then allow me to eat it. I mean, she's standing there 3 times the size that I am, and she's telling me that I'm obese. I still have issues with that. I mean, people who are interested in principled living would know that you practice what you preach, to use a British idiom. And that simply means that if you really believe something, then you apply it to all aspects of your life. So if she's telling me about the importance of eating healthily and she looks huge, then there's clearly something wrong there. I mean, of course, her condition may be a result of an entirely different medical condition. I don't know. But I wasn't seeing signs of principled living. You think doctors would be a bit healthier. It's the same with dentists. The last time I was at the dentist, I remember it was lunchtime and they were all eating really, really bad sugary things that were bad for their teeth. And then, of course, they were lecturing me about how I'm not looking after my teeth properly. You know, it just seems a little bit bizarre. But, well, we all do jobs that we don't really respect anymore. And jobs like doctors and dentists these days have simply been reduced to filling in forms and procedures for the government, haven't they? So, anyway, yes. So that's the thing. We don't, we don't really live by principles anymore. We just deal with the symptoms to make ourselves happy, don't we? But about cakes and sweets, oh yeah, we're we're not very good at pronunciation, I'm afraid. And that just shows our real lack of respect for food. We really don't care what we're eating. I had some friends over recently for dinner, and at the end of it, one of them said, "Oh, is that chicken or fish?" And then they started discussing amongst themselves, "Oh, it's fish." No, no, it's chicken, I think. Is it? Is it chicken? What is that? And I'm thinking, listen, I just spent the last 2 hours preparing that thing, and it's kind of clear to me that it's chicken. Um, so yeah, well, I mean, it could have been my cooking, I suppose, but I don't think my cooking's that bad. By the way, speaking of cooking and these things, I see in the news today that Suzanne Summers has passed away. For those of you who don't know who Suzanne Summers was, she was basically a really trashy kind of American actress. You would know her. I mean, she's been in tons of things. And during COVID, she was cooking live on Facebook. A few of them did that, didn't they? Turned to cooking to have Facebook followings. Patti LaBelle did that as well. Yeah. Anyway, Suzanne Summers, she was in tons of things. I mean, especially in the 80s, you probably would know her. And then she started writing books because she was suffering from cancer. So she was promoting cancer treatments. But she's kind of like an icon in American TV, not so much in British TV, but she's really well known. I mean, she was in the Rockford Files, the $6 Million Man. The Love Boat. She always was a little bit salacious. Salacious has a few different meanings in English. It can mean showing great care, but I think when most people use it about actors or actresses, it means full of desire, maybe a little bit over the top, shall we say. Yes. She was very funny, though. I mean, in the 2000s, she was one of the presenters on the Home Shopping Network, which is one of the shopping TV channels. She was on there for more than 25 hours per month. So you might recognize her from there. She kind of looked perfect. Perfect hairstyle, perfect face, you know. It was it was quite obvious. I mean, she was in her 70s at that point. Goodness. Yeah, and in the summer of 2005, she made her Broadway theatre debut. Another word that British people struggle with. I've heard people calling it debut. In a one-woman show. And it was cancelled in less than a week. The New York Times referred to it as a drab and embarrassing display of emotional exhibitionism masquerading as entertainment. So I think she was able to laugh at herself, which was good. And she compared her treatment by critics with the treatment of soldiers in the Iraq War, which got her into even more trouble because, you know, you can't say things like that these days publicly. And then she had her own online talk show, Suzanne Summers Breaking Through, where she was getting together with old actors she'd worked with in the past. I liked her cooking. I always thought that her cooking was good. And she also had other shows as well. So, yeah, that's a great pity. Suzanne Summers, an icon of America, I think we can say. So, yeah, she's gone. I think the cooking was Suzanne Sizzles. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's what it was called. I can see here that she did do something called Suzanne Sizzles. So, as I remember correctly, yeah, that was her cooking moment. In 2020, she fractured her hip when she jumped out of a private tram to her house. Very sad. And then in July 2023, her cancer returned, and she was living in Palm Springs, California. So, yeah, she had plastic surgery back in 2001. But Americans love that kind of thing, don't they? Here, people who have plastic surgery, they don't usually mention it. They don't usually talk about it, you know. But yeah, with some celebrities, it's all over the news. Yeah, so that's Suzanne Summers. Very sad, very sad. So there we are. I think was she not in Serial Mom? That movie about the mother that was killing people. Yeah, it was a satirical black comedy with Kathleen Turner about a mother who is known for killing people. It was very funny. Yeah, Suzanne Summers turned up in that as well, didn't she? Yeah, and there we are. So that's it for today. Let's just do a quick idiom about food. We don't really have many, I'm afraid, because Britain really isn't a food-loving nation. But to go bananas is an English food idiom, which means to go crazy. If you go absolutely bananas, it means you lose your temper and you go crazy with whoever you're talking to. Hard nut to crack is one I used in my podcast, I think yesterday or the day before. It just means something difficult. My favorite one is probably about having bigger fish to fry. Okay. So, for example, if you're talking to a friend and they're very slowly explaining something to you with a lot of You can say, look, I don't have all day. I've got bigger fish to fry. So can you hurry up and tell me? You hear that a lot on TV. It's something maybe a parent would say to a child. Hey, I've got bigger fish to fry. I don't have all day to spend with you, you know? So it's a way to tell someone to hurry up if you want them to finish something in a certain length of time. Well, you're still washing the car. Look, I've got bigger fish to fry. So can you stop and take me to the supermarket? You know, bigger fish to fry. It just means more important things to do. There we are. Right. So, lovely to be with you all again. Talk to you soon. Bye.